In this talk, we're going to learn about invertebrates that belong to the clade Deuterostomia. Invertebrates are organisms that belong to the domain of Eukarya and the kingdom of Animalia. All invertebrates are multicellular eukaryotic heterotrophs that have tissues but lack a vertebral column or a backbone. The group of invertebrates forms a paraphyletic group because it does not include animals known as vertebrates, even though vertebrates evolved from the same ancestor that the invertebrates evolved from. And hence there is no clade called as Invertebrata since it is a paraphyletic group. Scientists have determined that invertebrates evolved from protists. In fact, choanoflagellates are considered to be the closest relatives to animals, including invertebrates. It is thought that choanoflagellates, which are unicellular protists, aggregated together to eventually form the first invertebrate. In fact, sponges, which are considered to be as one of the earliest animals that evolved, show the presence of these specialized cells called choanocytes that are very similar to choanoflagellates. Invertebrates are grouped into different phyla based on their anatomical features as well as embryonic developmental patterns. There have been more than 35 phyla that have been identified, but most of the invertebrates can be grouped in around 10 phyla. Some of the most important phyla, which has many invertebrates, is listed, and it should be noted that the phylum of Chordata includes not only invertebrates but also vertebrate animals. Most invertebrates belong to the clade Bilateria because their bodies show bilateral symmetry. Bilaterians can be divided into three clades, which are Lophotrochozoa, Ecdysozoa, and Deuterostomia. The clade of Deuterostomia includes invertebrates and all vertebrates that are present on Earth. All organisms in the clade Deuterostomia are triploblasts because they form three germ layers during their early developmental stages. These germ layers are the ectoderm, the mesoderm, and the endoderm. All organisms belonging to Deuterostomia are also bilaterians and show bilateral symmetry at least some stage of their lifetime. During development, the blastopore that is formed in organisms that are deuterostomes will ultimately become the anus and not the mouth. Organisms that are in the clade of Deuterostomia can be invertebrates as well as vertebrates. Organisms that belong to the phyla echinodermata, like starfish, or that belong to the phylum Chordata, that includes tunicates as well as vertebrates, come under the clade of Deuterostomia. Let us now learn about the phylum Echinodermata. This phylum includes marine animals that either cannot move or are sessile, or if they have the ability to move, they move quite slowly. In the case of Echinodermata, there are larval stages of the organisms, and these larvae, as shown in the figure, exhibit bilateral symmetry. However, the adults that form from these larvae show pentaradial symmetry. Echinoderms have an endoskeleton that is made up of calcium carbonate. This is different from the exoskeleton that is found in arthropods, which is made of chitin. Some examples of echinoderms include sea stars like starfish, brittle stars, sea urchins, sand dollars, and sea cucumbers. Echinoderms are known to have a fascinating water vascular system in their body. The main function of this system is in locomotion and feeding. This water vascular system is a network of hydraulic canals that branch into tube feet. Water enters into the organism through the madreporite, and from there it is able to move into the stone canal. From the stone canal, it moves to the ring canal, and from the ring canal, it's able to enter through the radial canals. The radial canal extends from the ring canal into each body branch, and thus we have the water vascular system. Due to the water vascular system, the echinoderms do not have a need for separate respiratory, excretory, or circulatory organs. They do have a simplified digestive system as well as a simplified nervous system. Echinoderms do not have a brain, but they do have a nerve ring, and from the nerve ring, radial nerves originate that are able to go to different parts of the body. Echinoderms do have a reproductive system. Almost all species of echinoderms have separate male and female sexes, but there are some that are hermaphrodites as well. Echinoderms can have locomotory structures like tube feet. These structures are known to aid in locomotion but also play important roles in feeding. Echinoderms can be grouped into 5 different clades. One of the clades is Asteroidea, which includes sea stars like starfish, which have 5 arms, or other types of sea stars that can have more than 5 arms, as well as sea daisies. The clade of Ophiuroidea includes the brittle stars, where we can see the arms of the organisms are much thinner than those that we see with the sea stars. The clade of Echinoidea includes sea urchins, which are these globular organisms that seem to have spikes emanating from them, as well as sand dollars, which are more flattened organisms. The clade of Crinoidea includes sea lilies and feather stars, while Holothuroidea includes the sea cucumbers. Let us now look at the phylum Chordata. These animals are bilaterally symmetrical triploblasts that are deuterostomes. Even though echinoderms are also deuterostomes, chordates evolved independently from echinoderms. Organisms that are in the phylum of Chordata include both invertebrates as well as vertebrates. Just as a reminder, invertebrates are those organisms that do not have a vertebral column in their body, while vertebrates do have a vertebral column in their body. All chordates show 4 features at least some stage of their life. These include the presence of a hollow nerve cord that is formed early during development, as well as a notochord, which is a thin rod of tissues that is formed before the nerve cord forms. In some cases, the notochord may be replaced by the vertebral column as development proceeds. Chordates also show the presence of pharyngeal slits that can also be called as pharyngeal pouches or clefts, and these are present in all vertebrate embryos. Chordates also show the presence of a post-anal tail. There are 3 main subphyla or clades in chordates, which include the Urochordata, Cephalochordata, and Vertebrata. An example of a cephalochordate are lancelets. Lancelets get their name because of the shape of their body, which is like a blade or a lancet. Lancelets are marine invertebrates, and when we look at their bodies, we're able to see all four features of chordates, which include the presence of the notochord, the dorsal hollow nerve cord, pharyngeal slits, as well as a tail. Cephalochordates are known to be suspension feeders and have more simpler systems than other types of chordates. Tunicates belong to the subphylum or clade of Urochordata. Tunicates are marine animals, and when we look at their adult structures, they actually look like tiny tubes, and thus they don't show many features of chordates as an adult. However, they do show the features in their larval stages. Tunicate larvae do show the presence of a notochord, a nerve cord, pharyngeal slits, as well as a tail, which are the four features of chordates. However, as the larvae undergo development to form the adult tunicate, a lot of these features are lost. In fact, the tunicate loses its entire nervous system as it transitions from a motile larva to a sessile adult tunicate. A fun fact about tunicates is that whenever they feel attacked or threatened, they will shoot water through the siphon called as the excurrent siphon, and hence they're also called as sea squirts. All organisms that belong to cephalochordata or urochordata are invertebrates. However, most chordates are actually vertebrates. Vertebrates are those chordates that have a backbone or a vertebral column. This vertebral column is usually made up of vertebrae. The main function of the vertebral column is to protect the spinal cord, which is a part of the nervous system. Vertebrates form their own group of animals and are not included in invertebrates. With this, we come to the end of our talk where we learned about different characteristics of invertebrates as well as features of the Clade Deuterostomia. We also learned about the characteristics of different phyla that come under the clade of Deuterostomia.